Hi, good morning. It's Simon here. How are you? Today, in today's live stream, we are going to be doing a live guitar lesson on caged and why you might need that. You might not have heard it before. It sounds like a bit of an old-fashioned concept, I think, maybe nowadays. People talk much more about pentatonics and all that sort of stuff, but I think it's a super, super useful thing that you can use, and it actually answers a lot of questions around the guitar. So, let's start it straight off. If you have any questions during the lesson, please do let me know. And if you're watching on repeat, I'm happy to answer those questions in the comments as well. All right, now, let's share a little screen that I prepared here earlier. Now, what you can see here is I've got a C major. And what I've done here is I've color-coded the chart so you can see the C major chord here, open C. We've got C, E, G, which is the first, third, fifth, first, and third of the chord, right? So when I play that, that is a C major. Now, the first thing, often I get asked, how do I put together some little runs inside chords when I'm playing sort of standard cowboy chords? You know, if I played C to G, for example, and I played, you know, how do they come up with that stuff in the middle of there? Well, how they come up with stuff in the middle of there is actually pretty straightforward. What they do, you've got C major here at the bottom, right? That's a C. C major is a chord, C. And then in there we've got C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So you can see the scale is inside the chord, if you know what I mean. So if I lift up my second finger here, that is a C sus2, and then I can resolve into C. All right, now that already is a pretty useful thing. So sounds familiar, right? You've heard that 10 million times, I guess. Now, if we move that C chord, and we're going to move it up here to F, imagine we have the same thing in F. We've still got a C shape here with now an F, right? Now, C, F. So that's the first kind of useful thing about the caged thing, where you've got a chord, you realize how it interacts with the guitar up and down the neck. There's C. See what I mean? There's the same shape will apply here at the 8th fret. The guitar is drowning out your voice. Okay. Thank you very much for telling me that, Trav. That bit better? Let me just have a little listen. Thanks for that, Trav. I really appreciate that. That super helps. It's never that easy to figure out the monitoring. Can I tell you that? All right. So let's go here and here. Sorry for the delay. Let's go there. All right. That should probably sort things out. That should probably sort things out. Better? Typical guitarist, always play too loud, right? Anyway, so what you can see there is you've got C major. How good is that? That you tell me, and then I can just fix it. I love the internet. It's going to catch on. So we've got C. So I'll repeat all of that stuff. We've got C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And always on 11. Always on 11. So that's how that is useful, right? So there's your F, there's your G. right? And the same thing will apply. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rather. Okay, now that leads me into the second thing, which is this whole cage thing is actually pretty useful because it means that you can reverse engineer chords, right? So if you see a chart and it's got a C6 in it, that's not a chord that everybody knows probably, but you've got 1, 3, 5, 1, 3. And if you know that C major thing inside the chord, there's the 6, right? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can see the 6 of C major is an A. So if we play our C, there's an A in there. We put our pinky here. There's a C6, right? If we need a C major 7, which you might not know, you think, oh, so here's the 7, C major 7. And it also helps when you're trying to come up with slightly different versions of chords that are really familiar to make it sound a bit more interesting. So instead of playing that C major there, you've got a G here. There's also a G here, right? So why not just play that one up there? Still a C major, but just you've got an extra G on top of the chord, if you see what I mean. All right. So that's already answered, I reckon, a lot of questions that I get. So how do if I've got a song, it's got C major, A minor, G, and I'm playing something like that, and I want to make it sound a bit more interesting. Alright, so I went from C, I played C, and then it hammered on 2, 3, 5, 6. There's a C, and then A minor. Same thing applies. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. It's in key, right? And then G major. Open. And then back to C. Okay. So you can see already that if I then followed that pattern, and I put an F, A minor, not really A minor anymore, it's D minor. Alright, and then G shape, and then back to F. Okay, so that is a first actually really useful thing about this. Now let me just scroll down here. Where is it? Wrong button. There it is. So I'm going to scroll down here. And now what you can see here is that this is an A-shaped bar chord. All right. So we had C shape. You know where this is going. So we've got caged, right? So C, and then A is here. So C, A. Now, the cool thing about this is what it allows you to do is if you've got an extended part of a song which just basically has C in it, just go back here to the comments, C, and then C. Now, I've got C, I've got C, C. Those three major scales which all lead off this C here, the 3rd fret on the A string. So what it means is I'm playing here. So you can see already that the cage sort of system has allowed me to know all the notes from the open to about, where are we? To the 7th fret. And so it just means that I'm playing C. Right? So If I've got an extended section, which has just basically got C in it, let me just put something in. Looper here. So, C. 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 And all those notes are in. They're just notes out of the chord, so it's going to be really easy for you to always play something which is going to match the chord. And that's just from knowing that this is C and this is C. So that is the A shape. Now, what you can carry on doing is you can carry on going up the neck. So let's just move up the neck here. Now, here we go. This is the 8th fret where this black C is here. And you've got this G shape bar chord. Now, hardly ever do you see people playing that because it's awkward as, right? It's just not a sort of thing that you're going to be going to that often. How I tend to use it, I tend to use this sort of thing. So you can see that this is like the top half, if you like, of that G shape. Then I've got, again, you've got the scale under each time. Right? So if you've learned how to play G major in the open position, G, A, B, C, D, F, follows. The whole thing always follows. Right? So you see D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Right? So we've got C here at the 1st fret, C at the 3rd fret. Now we've got C at the 8th fret. So what that means is that, again, let's put our thing on. So you're perfectly in with the chord all the time. And it just means that you're going to have more control and kind of more mastery of the fretboard, so that, you know, even if I had my rhythm guitarist here, an open chord, and I'm playing rhythm guitar as well. You see what I mean? Like, it's a pretty useful thing. So if you're playing with a mate and he's playing a whole bunch of these sorts of chords, you know the CAGED thing, and you can work out all the other chords. So because this is C, so if I move it up, obviously that's D, E, F, G, right? So that's where this stuff gets really, really useful. Okay, let's keep moving up. So we've had C, A, G in our CAGED thing. So if we move it up here, then suddenly probably one more people recognize as an E-shaped bar chord. Now, you ever learn any Jimi Hendrix stuff? What you'll realize is that he does this a lot, where he's got his thumb on the root, right, and then his top 3 fingers on the top of the chord, and then nothing really on the A string. All right, and you'll hear riffs like this. Right? Or all that kind of stuff. All right? 1, 2, 3. Here. 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? 7, 8, 9 or 3. That minor third, major. Right. So if you can come up, you know, because you'll hear like in Little Wing, Little Wing. Little Wing? Yeah, Little Wing. Now this is going to be a G. Right? So he's doing this kind of caged vibe. We've got the top of the chord, he goes to a 6. sus4. Major third. 1. Right? And then A minor. And you've always got the chord. You know what I mean? Like, so even the minor chords. Right? And then G. F, C, D. See that? You get to D there, and then he does this little run. What's that? It's a G shape bar chord. It's a D. This is a D. The root is a D, right? It's that G shape bar chord we were talking about before. So these are like really practical applications of actually what is kind of just not a very sexy way to learn the guitar anymore. I don't know why it's not that popular anymore. It's how I learned the guitar in, you know, the 1780s or whatever it was. Okay, so that's why that's useful. And then finally, we've got a D-shaped chord here. You can see that I've got, whoops, D-shaped chord. So here's our root. 5, root, 3. All right? So you've got that. Right? So we've had C major. Let me just switch that off. We've had C major. 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 Right. So what that means is, as you run these, you know, see? Right. So you can see that that's going to be a pretty helpful thing to help your guitar playing. And then if you also know the notes in the middle relative to what they are, like so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wherever you are. And you know, you hear licks like that all the time. I think that's maybe a Mark Knopfler one. Right, just played a sus4, A sus4, A sus4, right, and the chord underneath is an A, right? So he's really good at the cage thing. He's really good at the guitar, full stop. But you know what I mean? Like where you're playing A, right, over the A. So that is basically, in a very, very short lesson, what is going on with the cage thing. Now, do we have any questions? Do we have any other questions? I'm just going to hang on here for a little bit to see if you guys have got any questions. I'm super interested to see if that has helped you. Trav, Tangy, we've got some other people in here as well, I'm sure. I can see there's a few others extra. I'll just hang on. I'll just run through that, the basics of that again. And if you've got any questions, I'm really, really happy to answer. So, let's see. Right, so you'll see when you've got these other chords around that, which seem sort of, I don't know why that's that and all that sort of thing. it'll help you because you'll have the C major. What would be your suggestions in breaking this down to learn it in steps? Excellent question. So I would learn each of the patterns and each of the scales that sit within those patterns. That stuff is available over the internet. I will actually put a few charts together on the Patreon, and I'll put a link in the video here so you can get to them easily. So the first thing I would say is the C. You probably know that. Pretty much everybody knows that if you've played the guitar for more than 10 minutes. And then I would kind of think about, okay, well, I've got my open scale pattern there. Right? So 3, 0, 2, 3, 0, 2, 0, 1. And you can get a freebie here. If you name the notes as you go, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, it'll help you learn the notes as you go, right? So that C is C. C, like all that stuff is freely available on the internet, right? You know, there's patterns. You can just search C major patterns on the Googling machine, and hey presto, right? So I would, similarly like I did here with the looper, right? I would just literally practice going. So is the idea to learn that pattern from the root note in the chord? Yes, that is the idea. Because then, as the chord changes, if it went to F, for example, I could do the same thing, but just up here. And it's going to sound more interesting, right? So we've got still a C shape, but I can do the same thing because the guitar's a patterny situation, right? Right, let's actually put two chords in, right? I'll put C in. F. C. Right, so I can do the same thing, right? F. Now, C, A shape, A shape, A shape, B shape, E shape, F, C. Right? So exercising like that, I would say exercise like that in one shape first and get the idea of C all over the neck. Then do the same, get the idea of A, the A shape all over the neck. Get the idea of the G shape all over the neck, the E shape, and then the D shape all over the neck. And then you'll start to see that, okay, right. So then that's how that's going to work for you all the time. Now, the thing to also, one last thing actually to think about is that where you have, like the D shape that we spoke about here, what you actually can start to recognize is that this is the same kind of shape, right? Oh, I'm glad to hearing you. I'm glad hearing you getting it. I know it is a bit, what's the word? Sort of, it can be a bit cloudy, this whole caged thing. But if you start to kind of go, okay, well, I'm just doing the same thing here, it's actually pretty useful, right? Because I find it's not just not taught that well. Because if it was taught well, like everybody would use this all the time, right? Instead of your, I need to do a minor pentatonic sort of thing. Which is cool as well, right? But if you've got those major shapes everywhere, like suddenly you sound like, it's like when you do the pentatonic thing, it sounds like you're only playing in one color, right? But if you use the sort of major scales and combine them with your pentatonic riffs, it sounds like you're playing in multicolors, right? What they call that? Technicolor. So like I could play C, pentatonic riff, caged kind of lick, pentatonic lick, caged kind of lick. Right? It's cool, hey? Anyway, what I was saying just before was that once you get a handle on this is D, this is the C shape, but it's the same chord. And you can start to see that actually this is the same, kind of the same shape, right? So you get this kind of bigger shape, and you'll get the hand. C major, right? And you start to see how they all just all link up. And it's just like somebody's put lights on the fretboards for me. Like, oh, I can play that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. You don't see what I mean? So basically the D and C shapes are the same. And then your A and your G shapes are kind of the same too. So like this is C, this is still C, but this bit in the middle is the kind of triad from there, and then a bit in there. So you start to see that. Right? Makes sense? Excellent. I think that is it. My coffee's probably gone a little bit cold because I've done so much chatting. Are there any more questions? I'm going to have a sip of coffee whilst I wait for if there's any more questions. That's all right. Any interest? Any interest? No interest. All right. No worries at all. You're super welcome. I will put charts and a whole bunch of that sort of resources at Patreon. Is learning pentatonic a must? Yes, absolutely. Like, you don't just learn one thing and go, I've got that. All the pentatonic things. Oh, I should tell you with the pentatonics. I was only going to do 10 minutes, but here we are, half an hour later. So DJ Cannon. Pentatonics are actually awesome because they match each of those chords in the C, A, G, E, D thing, right? So if I take, for example, a G-shaped chord, right? Now what you'll recognize is actually, so this is C major. A minor pentatonic is the relative minor. If you didn't know that, always 3 semitones lower is your relative minor, because C major and A minor have the same notes in the same way that D major and B minor have the same notes, right? So if you look at that, it actually looks a bit familiar because you can start to go, there's your first position of your minor pentatonic, right? Right? Okay. Then I move to an E shape, second position of the minor pentatonic. Then I've got, so G, E, D, third position of the minor pentatonic. There it is. It's in the chord. Right? Fourth position. It's in the C shape. Fifth position. it's in the A shape. So learning all these relationships between the major scale, the chord, and the pentatonic, like that is a lot of stuff to learn. And I think I've got to say, I find that often I have people come for lessons and they're like, I want to learn the mode, this mode or that mode or whatever it is. I often ask them, do you know your major scales all over the neck? Because that is actually a more important thing from my point of view to learn before you start worrying about Phrygians and all that kind of stuff. So you can see that there's a massive advantage to knowing all that stuff, and then realizing that if you, here we are, I can play a pentatonic style lick over the top of your chord, right? I just want to make sure I learn in the right order. I don't think there's a right order. I just think you need to know all these things, and it is tempting to kind of, when you first start, or even if once you're into it a little bit, it's like, I'm going to learn everything. It's all right, don't worry about it. There is a lot to know, right? But what you've got to try and do is just put your blinkers on a little bit and go, okay, but I'm in the next 3 months, I'm going to learn all the pentatonic shapes up and down the note, and I can play them in common keys, like in, A and E and stuff like that, but also in, uncommon keys. Like I still hate playing in B flat and stuff like that because I spent years and years learning A, E, those sort of common keys. But it's really, really important because there's so much stuff now available. It's not like in 1985 when I learned my first pentatonics, or whenever that was, 1983. You've just got to focus on learning one thing at a time, because it is tempting. Oh, look, the bright, shiny thing. I totally understand that. But do try to get that first. It is about knowing where it starts. You're absolutely right, Trav. So I think getting really good at pentatonics is an integral part, because there's so many things so many riffs that are basically pentatonic. Like literally every single famous lick is pentatonic, right? Whether it's Layla, look, D minor, Sunshine of Your Love, right? I don't know, Zebra by John Butler. They're all pentatonic. They're literally all of them, with sometimes one extra note in there, like that White Stripes thing, basically going. Right? E minor pentatonic. Right. So just getting a handle on one thing at a time, I think, is really a really useful thing. Switch the internet off or whatever, switch everything off and just go, okay, well, I'm going to learn all of those pentatonic scales in A minor pentatonic. And, you're just doing this with a metronome. It's good as well. And then once you get the handle on that, learn two. And then being able to join them up. So that if you have, you can easily move up and down the neck in between them. Right? Is it right that playing within the cage, it's kind of an intermediate step towards pentatonics? I think it's kind of just, it's like it's a long side thing. It's a different thing, but really, it's at the end of the day, it's all kind of the same thing, because if you've got A minor pentatonic, the notes in A minor pentatonic are A, C, D, E, G. The notes in C major include all of those notes. So I guess a minor pentatonic or a major pentatonic is just a subset, effectively, of your major scale, because the major scale is the most important thing. So you definitely have to know your major scales, but you also have to know the pentatonic stuff. The pentatonic stuff, maybe we'll do another class next month on, what's more important? Should I learn the major scale or minor pentatonic or pentatonics? Right? We'll do that maybe next month. Spoiler, you've got to learn them both. Neither are more important. I'm just trying to think of a catchy YouTube title. But yeah, so I think having a good idea of that sort of stuff and knowing what key you're in, and then you can go from there, right? That is definitely a good answer, I think. Hopefully it's been useful. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'm sorry about the dramas with the volume at the front. What I might do is I think I was recording here the audio, so I can sort the audio out later and re-upload the video and stuff so that we can fix that up. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. I will see you in another live stream soon. You can go to patreon.com/Simon Morel. There you get 2 more exclusive lessons every single month. At the silver level, you can access over 3,000 charts, like basically all the charts I have since I went digital. And one-on-one teaching like this you can access. There's loads of cool things you can access over there. So please do go give that a visit. If you have any questions at all, I'm happy to answer in the comments later. Have a great day. I will see you later. All the best. Bye-bye.